Yo, what is up, people, and welcome back one more time to the Max Factor. And today we have got Jose with us. He's a fantastic inventor. He's a great business person. He has several products on the market, some of which are extremely popular. I know that we carry one of his products in every single Max Challenge across the country, and we're going to talk more about that. And I'll tell you what a lot of people don't know about is all of the inventions that he have that never made it into a gym or never made it onto the shelves. And he's beyond just being a great inventor, a great business person. He's a fantastic human being with a great story that's very inspirational. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's my good friend Jose.
What's up?
What's up,
Bryan,
man?
thanks for having me, man. It's amazing to be here. Yeah.
So we met through the inventor of the abs roller, right?
Yeah. The abs company. Yep.
Yeah, the abs company.
Yeah.
And Mike Ritter, right? Let's
Yes.
give him a shout out.
Shout out to Mike Ritter. Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. Shout out to Mike Ritter, the abs company, for sure. Yeah.
I think what's so incredible. Like you go down this path and you meet people, and you never know where exactly it's going to bring you. And I know that you're a very humble person, but when I heard your story, I was like, "Holy cow! This is a true inspiration." And I thought, what a better place, we got this podcast now. We're getting hundreds and hundreds, probably over thousands of downloads of each of these podcasts now. And I thought, what a better story is there? Is there even a better story than...
I don't know about that.
So there is no better story than Jose's. And I really do think you have the ability to impact people in a really positive way and inspire them. And I think, that's a great place to start,
Thank you. I have to... Before I go any further, I have to also give a shout out to Don Brown, my original invention kind of inspiration mentor. Kind of was a mentor. He doesn't even know
the true inventor of the abs roller. Right?
Yes, yeah, and he doesn't even probably know how much of an impact he had on my life, but he did. But also Sean Gagnon, the president of the abs company, and just want to give them a shout out and for believing in me and believing in my product and. Of course, we mentioned Mike Ritter and everybody else at the abs company. I love those guys.
Yeah. So, how'd you get started in fitness? Were you always in fitness?
Well, no. I mean, I growing up, I was always into sports. Always into played sports, played baseball, played football. We played football through high school, and I've always loved sports. And I always loved martial arts too, by the way. Then went on to actually played around with weights. Got in when I was a teenager. I loved bodybuilding, and I was always Arnold and Lou Ferrigno fan, and then it worked out. But then I never did anything really serious, and I think the biggest thing that really got me into and into fitness was having cancer, being diagnosed with cancer. At 16, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I went through chemotherapy, radiation treatment, and I always like to say, by the grace of God, my cancer went into remission. And then when I was 23, turning 24, right around there, I was diagnosed for the second time. This time it was stage 4. Stage 3 or 4, I forget even. It was one of those high stages, I didn't know that, of thyroid cancer. And my wife would know. I always don't even think about it so much, Anyway, and that after having thyroid cancer, got my thyroid gland removed, went through radiation treatment, and it really just kind of sucked. And I was just really just tired of, I came to a point in my life where I just didn't want to... I kind of had a spiritual awakening too. I just was I just felt like I wasn't living right. I wasn't living right. I was just kind of living a toxic life. But for whatever reason, I got cancer. It's funny because all my friends around me were pretty much living the same way. None of them came down with cancer. So there's no real exact reason why. I'm not going to point it just towards, but I definitely believe lifestyle contributed to, I think, me personally, for me coming down with cancer, and for me it was just a wake-up call, and I just felt like I needed to change my life. And went into, after the radiation treatment, I went to a holistic facility. My mother introduced me to this friend of hers who worked at this place in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and I went there for a 10-day detox. And had no idea what I was going into. I was eating chicken wings on the bus before I went there, like literally. I'm like thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to go detox. And it was like fasting for like the first 3 days. I was like,
Holy
I was like,
cow.
what? I was like, wait, no. I was like,
That's nuts.
I need chicken wings. I was like, they were like, no, you're not eating for 3 days. I'm like, what? And so it was like my first introduction to, it was like boot camp to like detoxification, like learning about, detoxifying the body. And this was like 20 years ago. So this was like way before people even talked about detoxification. Now, you hear it all the time. Antioxidants, this detoxifies the body. You got to detox. And, as far as, cleansing the body, I never even heard of that concept when I went into this place, but I learned real quick about it. But it was amazing. It was an amazing experience where it was educational. It wasn't just, you're going to just do this. Like we literally sat through seminars throughout the day and they taught us about the body, about how, what we put in our bodies and how our bodies have an amazing ability. I think I really just fell in love with the concept of like the human potential. It really was like the birth of like my whole, because like personal training, bodybuilding is all about becoming the greatest version of yourself and learning about the potential that we had to heal ourselves. That's what inspired me to learn even more. And so it was very educational, and I learned if we put the right things in our body, that our bodies have an amazing ability to recreate themselves, to heal themselves, to detoxify themselves. And I learned how there was so many people, thousands of people that were healing themselves of cancers, all kinds of autoimmune disease. My roommate had lupus, I remember at the time. Never even heard of that. I was like, what is that? What do you mean your body's fighting against itself? And it was, but this autoimmune diseases are a big problem in our country. And but anyway, it was just very educational, and I learned that if we put the right things in our body, the body can do amazing things. And so they put me on a program, and I left, and it was actually, to be honest with you, it was a little like overwhelming. Like it was a little it was just, it almost became another stress, like, because it was like I had to stay on such a tight regimen, like, and certain amount of supplements I had to take, and it became like too much of a burden. And so I just started to educate myself, like, and just try to do the best that I could do. I remember one of the first things I read about was whey protein, and glutathione, and how it's like an antioxidant and fight it against cancer. I was like, all right, I'm taking whey protein. And it kind of just started me on this whole journey of just wanting to learn more about the body and how to heal itself, and went on to eventually become a personal trainer, bodybuilder, did some competitions, and
it's amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing story, I tell you. So, and when we were talking before, we talked about how it's important to build your body to be able to handle capacity. Right? Like, if you want to be able to lift heavier weights, you've got to work your way up to being able to lift those heavier weights.
Yeah.
But something that you brought to my attention, and it's something I know that something we've talked about a lot, is it's the same thing with your mind.
Yeah.
You've got to condition your mind in the same way. If you want to be able to handle the stress of running, let's say, a bigger business, you've got to work your way up to that and condition your mind to overcome limiting thoughts. You've got to condition your mind to overcome the beliefs. Something you said to me once where, those beliefs got there somewhere, somehow. Who placed those beliefs in your mind?
Yeah.
And are they beliefs that serve you or beliefs that limit you?
Yeah. No, I mean, the mind is, there's levels, like, to talk the mind. I mean, you can go into so deep into the different levels, but I mean, I think
you broke it to 3 parts, I think, when we were talking.
Mind, character, habit. Is that
mind, character, habit.
Yeah. No, I mean, having the right mindset. We've been conditioned, right? That's what you were talking about before. Like, the mind has been conditioned one way or another. It has been conditioned, and it's continuously being conditioned. The problem is that most people are allowing, the wrong conditioning, cultural conditioning. I think psychologists say like about most of our subconscious conditioning, which controls our subconscious controls 95% of our behavior, is over 90% of our subconscious conditioning, which comes from childhood upbringing, cultural conditioning, and like just what you're allowing into your life. But it's most of it is self-sabotaging and limiting mindsets.
Wow. So 95% of what most people are thinking about is self-sabotaging and limiting mindsets.
Yeah, this is what psychologists say, that most of our behavior is dictated by subconscious, belief systems that have been conditioned since childhood. And so until we become aware of those and bring awareness to those mindsets, to those self-sabotaging, limiting mindsets, we can't, we're not going to do anything about it. So a lot of, conditioning the mind is about just becoming aware of limiting beliefs, self-sabotaging mindsets. But you have to educate yourself. I mean, you have to seek. Like that doesn't just.
So where would somebody go for this? I mean, I know where they would go, but why don't we tell them? Tell people, so those people that don't have any ideas, like who are some of the people you went to learn this type of information?
Yeah, like I was telling you before. It's funny because going back to the inventions, like I had an invention. My original invention was this Portaflex. It was this portable bench. It was heavy. It was it folded up. It had the resistance too. And I'm trying to get this thing to the market, and I'm asking people.
The idea was that it was portable, but it was also, I heard, heavy.
It was super heavy. It was clunky.
Was it how heavy?
Yeah, I mean, it was too heavy. Let's put it that way. I think it came out to be close to 50 pounds. 45, 50 pounds, but it felt like 100 when you this how clunky and big it was, because we had this big suitcase thing for it. it was funny. But anyway, that led me to meet this one of my original mentors, Mike Messina. Probably, I don't even know if he'll ever listen to this, but who knows. Anyway, and he was I was like, hey, I'm trying to get this idea to the market, and I'm like, can you find a manufacturer? I'm asking all the wrong questions basically. And he's like, look, here's what you need to do first. Before you even start, before you can really think about getting this invention to the market, you got to get some things right. And he goes, I'm going to give you a book to read. And he introduced me to, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, which is it's like the entrepreneurial Bible now. And I was the first personal development book I read, but
for those people that aren't entrepreneurs, if you're just trying to lose weight, if you're if not just trying, but if you want to get to the best shape of your life, if you want to live a happy life, if you want to achieve greatness in anything, probably Think and Grow Rich is a pretty good.
It
place
applies,
to start.
It totally applies, because being an entrepreneur is all really what I think what a true entrepreneur is seeking is to become the greatest version of himself. And so no matter what your goal is in life, whether you're trying to be the best mother, the best husband, the best employee, the best, whatever it is that you're trying to, you got to have the right mindset for it. You have to be able to identify limiting mindsets that are holding you back, that were conditioned to you from childhood. And so these books like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, is successful people think a certain way. And success is, the definition of success is whatever your definition of success is, right? So, I think truly the definition of success is, one of them, there's a bunch I think, but just becoming the greatest version of who you are meant to be or can be. And so the first book, Napoleon Hill, just brought to my awareness that holy cow, I used to think this about, money's evil, rich people are evil, or don't dream so big and stop thinking so big, and you need to come back down a little bit, and stop being, you're such a dreamer. I can remember growing up, my friends used to always say that to me, stop dreaming. That was a thing, just growing up, but that's a limiting mindset, and that becomes ingrained in you, conditioned in you, just like doing a curl, for whatever, 20 years of, thinking, don't dream so big, don't be such a dreamer, and then, just be happy with, getting by.
Yeah.
That kind of mindset too.
And meanwhile, as you're talking, I'm realizing that you've been working on developing this mindset, like many people that I talk to, for years and years and years. And people would look at the Battle Up ST and say, wow, it's in hundreds, if not that. Well, it's definitely in hundreds because it's in all the max challenges, but it's in
we have over
thousands?
2,000 out there, I think,
So
right now.
In 2,000, so it's in 2,000 locations.
Over 20 countries.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So in over 20 countries, it's helping thousands of people to, maybe even tens of thousands of people to stay in shape on a regular basis, right? And they'd say, wow, this is fantastic. This is an overnight success. Or it's easy for him to say he's sitting on top of this, all that. But I'm sure you've had a lot of things that didn't work, that failed. A lot of inventions that just sat on the shelf, or like the one that you explained, the suitcase that was 50 pounds.
Yeah. There's the business ideas that I tried. One of my original ideas was like an ice tray. I think that was like the first invention that I ever thought of as I seen some show, that one of those commercials on TV, like Inventors Inc. or something like that. But then I tried all kinds of little businesses, network marketing, got into selling supplements and everything. But I don't know, I always have to go back to, for me, it was truly just, once I read Napoleon Hill's book, and by the way, getting into network marketing did help me too, because it helped me, it developed that's awesome. That kind of everybody kind of was into that personal development, space, where it was oh, did you read this book? You got to read this book now. You read this book? You got to read this book. And it was so I spent years reading books, and what helped me with that was hearing how other people failed with their ideas, over and over again, and were rejected. One of my big inspirations right now is John Paul DiGiorgio. He talks about how he used to sell encyclopedias, and he would just freaking door to door, and then it's no, and but so that's developing the mindset, and then the character of just persistence, right? Persistence is important. And by the way, exercise and I think exercise and life are have so many parallels. It's a metaphor. Exercise is a metaphor for life. If you're persistent with your exercise, right?
That spills over into your life.
Yeah, if you're consistent.
So if you get up every day and work out at 5 or 6 or even 7, maybe 8 or 9 in the morning, whatever time works for a person, then that discipline and consistency and perseverance and all the attributes that you're bringing to that workout tend to spill over. Yeah. At least I know for me, it's for sure. Absolutely. When my training goes well, then my life seems to be, my business seems to be going better. My life goes better also.
Yeah, it's just about a lot of times it's about just showing up. I'm thinking of I don't know if you know David Goggins, but David Goggins, he says embrace the suck. Have to sometimes you just have to embrace the suck and just do it. Just show up, and then you feel better afterwards. But that has so many parallels to business too. Sometimes you just GSP, George St. Pierre talks about you just gotta just get in robot mode sometimes. You just gotta just freaking do it. Whatever it is that you have to do, you just gotta do it. You just gotta keep showing up. And exercise is the same way, right? Nutrition is the same way. Sometimes you're I don't want to eat this. I want to eat something else. And it's but here's where the mindset comes in. I think it's those are habits too, by the way. Showing up is developing the habits, right? And the mindset, I think, that comes in is learning how to see things from the end, beginning from the end. For me, it's what keeps me going, with anything, is just starting with the end. What do I want the end to look like? And I just keep focused on that. Why do why do you stay? Why do you keep eating this certain way? Because I want the end to look a certain way. I want to, and it's not just about looks, really. It's what I mean by look is like, I want my life to look a certain way. Like I don't want to have cancer again in my life, and yeah, I do want to be healthy, and physically I do want to look a certain way too, and so, but really at this point in my life, it's really just about like health, health at this point.
But that technique of visualizing is something that scientists have proven in sports to be essential. If you took two athletes, one who just trained physically, three athletes, one who trained physically, one who trained just through mental visualization, and the one in the middle trained less physically than the first one, but also spent a significant amount of time visualizing success. Seeing himself performing the movements flawlessly, and then even seeing himself crossing the finish line, holding his hand up in victory, and so on. Those people in that group outperformed the other two groups every single time. Beyond the shadow of a doubt. Even people with lesser skill would beat a more seasoned, talented athlete when they combine the mental training with the physical training.
Yeah, the visualization is powerful. I've even heard studies where they hook up electronic biofeedback equipment onto people and had them visualize doing like whatever the physical activity is that they're doing, and the muscles, the parts of their body and the parts of their brain start to fire, in the same exact way that it would as if they were physically moving. The interesting thing about that is funny. I was thinking about that today. Is like, the body doesn't know the difference between like reality and what's real and what's not real.
What's even more interesting to me, to your point, is it's along the same lines. In business, as an example, I'm coming to discover, if I'm going to run a meeting, how important it is for me to visualize the outcome of that meeting beforehand.
That's right.
How I'm going to speak, how I'm going to hold myself, how I'm going to sit, position myself, the words that I'm going to use in order to inspire others and elicit confidence in my ability to lead the business forward, rather than just showing up and maybe not being at my own personal best, right? It's like a game, showing up to that meeting is like that. It's like the Super Bowl, when you show up to an athlete's to Super Bowl these days, they're going to be physically prepared, but they're also going to be mentally prepared.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's so important in business and in life in general. If you're looking to lose weight, visualize that success. Spend some time, like you were saying before, what do you want your life to look like? Begin with the end in mind, and then visualize that end clearly, so that when, you don't feel like showing up, that inner drive, connects that activity that you maybe don't want to do that day, working out or eating nutritiously. It connects that activity with the end goal, and you find the ability to stick it out and make it happen.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, and the important thing, I think, that, like, for me, it was like, it goes back to conditioning again. Like, so it's one thing to say, okay, I'm gonna have a positive. It's not even so much about having a positive mindset, right? It's just about. It's about like developing the habits that create a positive mindset. So I think, well, like for me and for a lot of the entrepreneurs and people that are in personal development space that I follow, it's about having the right like habits, like rituals every day, right? Like, what are you listening to? What are you starting your day off with? How are you starting your day? Are you starting your day off like reading, watching, or listening to something that's going to support you to become the greatest version of yourself, right? Like, it's not just going to happen magically. You're not going to do it by just following the same old routine that you were following for the past, 10, 15 years. Here's another interesting, fact I hear all the time. Psychologists say that we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, right? But what the problem is that like over 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had yesterday. So if you want your life to change, you have to change the thoughts today. If you want tomorrow to change, you have to change thoughts today. And how do you do that? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you watching?
That's awesome.
That's conditioning your mind. That's how you do it. It doesn't just happen by waking up and going, I'm going to be positive today. Well, you have to take it. It's like saying, I'm going to be fit today, right? But you didn't go to the gym. You didn't work out. You didn't train yourself. You didn't condition yourself. You didn't exercise. You didn't eat right. You know, you got it. So that to me is like the most important thing, is like having that morning ritual. And I don't care what it is, like, you know, I mean, if you don't have 5 minutes.
So this is your morning ritual.
Yeah. I think having a ritual, you know, starting your day off, and this is all science too. Your mind is the most impressionable in the morning and at night before you go to bed. You know, that's when you're so impressionable. So what's the problem with a lot of Americans right now?
They're probably watching the news.
What are we watching? First thing
maybe
in the
first
morning,
thing in the morning,
and first thing at night, right? It's like you're watching. Can I curse?
Yeah.
You're watching in the morning and you're watching at night, and then you wonder why. You know, your life is. And you wonder why you're saying same old. Right? What do people always? I hate that saying. Like, you know, how's things going? It's same old. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's because you're putting in, and you can't expect to get out. It's programming. So that's like, for me, has had the biggest impact in my life. And I mean, I can't. I'm not sitting here trying to tell people what to do. All I can tell you is what has worked for me.
Yeah.
And it's like in the morning is so important.
Success leaves clues, right? Because it worked for you,
Tony.
But it's worked. It's worked for thousands of people. Hundreds,
that's what I'm saying.
Millions of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's and then there's a lot of science that supports it. You know, it's like the mind truly is like, I mean, a muscle. I mean, I just heard a report just recently, I think just yesterday, that in the past 5 years, there's been more discovery of the brain than in the past 70 years.
Wow.
About the power of the brain and how it can, of neuroplasticity, about how neurogenesis, you know, creating new cells. And about, you know, we talked about this one time, myelination, right? Mm-hmm. Developing pathways in the brain. And how does that apply? Because whatever you keep feeding yourself, whatever skill, or whatever you're reading, or whatever thought you're having, consistently, you're creating a pathway. And you're creating a neurological pathway that's being locked into your thinking. That's called myelination, right? It creates like this insulation in a thought. When you have a thought, you can look at your brain under a microscope, under like an MRI, have to be really good, but under an MRI, and you can see there's certain activations of parts of the brain. And so, you know, this is what you're doing. You're activating the brain by, depending on what you're putting in your brain, you're developing that type of conditioning. So it goes back to the whole, if you're putting in, that's what you're going to get out of your life. So, yeah, I mean, I think for people in fitness, you know, who are looking to change their life, whether they're trying to lose weight, you know, whether they're trying to improve their relationships, then you need to just seek out that knowledge and study that. Like, the knowledge is out there. Like YouTube, I think YouTube is like one of the most like incredible resources for information. And so, but you have to have that kind of those habits and character also to seek it out. Like, no one's going to do it for you. Like, I can't do your push-ups for you.
Yeah.
You know, so you gotta, you know, whatever you're trying to improve in your life, this is what I tell people too, whatever your definition of success is, then go seek out those people. Find those people online. Like, whatever, you know, if you're struggling in your relationships, then find out how to improve your relationships. And every day, you know, learn a little more, right? And then put it into practice, because the knowledge is not power, right? That's wrong too. That's a fallacy. And it's just like, you know, knowledge is not power. It's applied knowledge that's power, you know? So if you don't apply it, it's like if I give you the recipe, you know, people would tell me this all the time, Bryan, when I first started being a personal trainer, can you give me a workout routine? Can you give me, like, what should I eat? And I tell people, I would say, you know, I could put this workout on this paper for you and what to eat on this paper for you. And you could take the paper and you could rub it all over your body. And there ain't nothing going to happen. Nothing's going to happen until you apply the knowledge. Nothing's going to happen. So it goes back to the mind, right? You got to put the knowledge is good, but if you don't apply it, if I give you the recipe for the best chocolate chip cookies and you never put the recipe together, doesn't matter, right? So
When it comes to success, I know when I was starting the Max Challenge, there was a lot of people, a lot of doubters, and they weren't shy about expressing their disbelief that this was a good idea. It's not going to work because nobody wants to get up at 4 something in the morning to work out at 5, and nobody's going to eat like that, and there's not enough people that want to do that, or people don't have enough money to pay for that type of program. Nobody's going to come to your classes 5 days a week. And that overcoming that negativity for me was a very important, because I had a choice. I could have very easily said, you know what, it's probably not worth it. This is going to be a heavy lift. This is going to be really difficult to get off the ground. Not too many people are validating the fact that this is a good idea. Let me just go back to what I was doing before. But I didn't. Instead, I listened to the voice in my head that said, you could do this. This is in your wheelhouse. There's probably nobody on earth that's better suited to inspire others to make absolutely fantastic changes to their health, their appearance, their fitness. I would talk to myself. I'd say, you've done this yourself. You've actually taken control of your own thoughts, your own mind. You've changed your body, your habits, and now you're in a position to inspire others that nobody else in the world is in. And you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. You owe it to the community. You owe it to the world. I would talk myself into it. And I know a lot of people, they say to themselves, my gosh, how does somebody invent something from scratch and bring it into the world? And when it comes to the Max Challenge, I mean, I know a lot of people come up to me that are like, I had that idea. And it's not just having the idea. It's having the courage to face your fears, face your limiting beliefs, identify the limiting beliefs, then in spite of those limiting beliefs, march forward towards your goal. And as you start to achieve your goal, what starts to happen? The people around you, instead of saying, oh my God, you're nuts, nobody's going to come in the morning, you're going to be distracted from your business, and all these bad things are going to happen, right? Instead of that, they're coming to you and saying, oh my gosh, you're an inspiration. They lift you up even further, and then it gives you the ability to really go after goals and dreams that are even bigger than that. It was a little long-winded, but I know you must have had certain either negative thoughts from yourself or from others, and how did you overcome that?
Well, absolutely. Again, this is nothing that I've learned. Nothing that I've made up. It's what I've learned too. And this is T. Harv Eker, right, from Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. He said, action is the bridge between the inner world and the outer world. And then also the important thing is two things. Like, you have to get rid of naysayers out of your life, right? And understand that you become the average of the 5 closest people in your life. You've heard that?
Yes.
I don't know if your viewers have heard that. They may or may not have, but it is true. And so you have to get rid of those people. You literally have to, sometimes it's even family members. That doesn't mean you don't talk to them or see them. You just limit the time you spend with certain, even family members. Yeah. Sometimes they're the worst, unfortunately. But action is the bridge between the inner world and the outer world. That's T. Harv Eker. I'm quoting. I'm pretty sure, but it's so true. So when people, for when I was developing Battle Rope ST, it was just all about just what action can I take today? What action can I take? And I love Tony Robbins. He says, when things aren't working, change your approach continuously until you get the results that you want. And I think that's really, those are just principles. Like, they really...
Because I didn't even know the story of the battle rope completely, right? I mean, I understood how you came up with the concept, in general terms, but when we were talking earlier this afternoon, I found it to be incredible how many different variations, prototypes until you came to the and it's no wonder that most people who have good ideas never get them to market, because this took a substantial amount. It looks like a common, right, the hook, the we call it bracket on the bottom, the bracket on the top. But then when you hear how many times you have to fail to get it to the point where you find something that works, so incredible. Because for those people that don't know what it is, it's an amazing battle rope piece of equipment that's shortened so that you could use it in your bedroom, so that you could use it in your home basement if you don't have that, whatever. What is a traditional battle rope? 20 feet out? Or
could be even longer,
So it could be even longer than 20 feet. And this is 8?
10.
10 feet.
10
so
feet
it cuts
from
it
the
in
anchor.
half, which is what we liked about it for the Max Challenge, because we have a lot of people in our classes, and battle ropes take up a lot of room.
Yeah, and it's a strength trainer. That's the big thing.
And then there's the second piece. It's a strength trainer, but even more than that, it converts to a strength trainer
in seconds.
And people are like, oh, this is just, people just take it for granted. They're using it every day. Oh, this makes so much sense. But it took a lot of trial and error for you to get it to the point of success.
I it goes back to action again. I mean, I literally went to Home Depot and just started making parts, like literally. And I don't know. I believe something happens when you take action. Like some people call it the universe. I call it God. Whatever. It's like, when you start to take action, it's like things just all of a sudden pieces start to come your way. People start to come your way. People start to come alongside of you. And when you commit to the action, the results will follow eventually. And that applies to fitness too, And so, I'm just thinking of maybe some of your listeners out there, maybe who are just starting off with their fitness,
When you just stick to the plan,
show
up to the class, follow the nutrition.
Commit to the action.
Science. Just take the action. I always tell people, someone 5 weeks in maybe didn't lose weight. Their goal is to lose weight. They didn't lose weight, right? And did you get all pluses? Did you get a plus for nutrition and a plus for exercising daily? In generally, maybe not every single day, but in general, you got more pluses than minuses, far more pluses than minuses. Then it's going to happen. As long as you're getting pluses lined up in a row, it's science. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it is. It's just a matter of being. It goes back to the habits, of consistency. Just consistently taking action, and just having that mindset and the habits of persistence too. Persistence, I think persistence is a huge thing. I trained people. When I started doing classes for Battle Rope ST for the first year, it's really cool because now Battle Rope ST is in your classes and you have I don't know how many people come to one of your studios a day.
Hundreds.
Yeah, and they're using Battle Rope ST. Yeah. And when I first started, Bryan, honestly, for the first year, I was training 1-2 people at a time in my classes that were showing up. 1 person, 2 people, 1 person. This went on literally for probably close to a year before it eventually started to catch on. Before I started to, I was able to kind of fine tune the prototypes and the concept, and but to me it just all goes back to just I wasn't born with this character of persistence and habits and mindset. It was really all for me it was just education, just reading.
Yeah. So if somebody hasn't gotten that yet, meaning somebody's listening to this podcast, no matter how old they are, because you weren't born that way, you're telling all of us this.
Yeah.
So if they haven't gotten it yet, right, I think we should give them we should do our one last push of inspiration, because I find a lot of people, business people, okay, take a business person as an example, or someone trying to get into the best shape of their life. In the Max, we call people in this category that I'm about to explain a 70%er. So a 70%er is someone who takes their fitness 70% of the way. Mm-hmm. And they say that's good enough, right? And they start just feeling complacent, being at 70% of their capacity, which really, truly is probably impossible for us to reach our full potential. It's a moving target, right? Because when you get to the top, there's a new top. When you get to the top, there's a new top. In business, same thing. I think there's so many business people living at 40, 50, 60, 70% of their capacity. Why? All these things we talked about. Their mindset got them to where they are, but their mindset isn't strong enough to get them to the next level. They got to upgrade their software, take their mindset to the next level.
That's right.
Their habits, their character, and this reading and studying and working on ourselves is really, truly, what do they say on the internet? In IHO, in my humble opinion.
Okay.
In my humble opinion, this is the key to unlocking the door. Work on yourself. Unlock your true potential.
Yeah.
It's not some new sales technique usually. There might be a new sales technique, but it's ultimately it's the implementation of that sales technique, and it's the confidence that you have in implementing it. So it comes down to me, this mind, character, habit thing that you brought up is so important. And there might still be people out there questioning it, saying, these aren't regular guys, but you've overcome so much in your life, and you had so much just from knowing you.
Yeah.
Could you just share a little bit of what was the greatest thing that you've had to overcome on your pathway towards launching your business?
Would definitely it would be two things. Like my I could tell you this, like on the day my initial investor for Battle Rope ST, we were kind of parting ways, and let's just put it in a nice way.
Okay.
All right. So things weren't working out, and we were like going back and forth in text messages and emails, saying, "Hey, look, I didn't agree with what he was doing. He wasn't doing his part. I was, and at the same, and so basically things were coming to an end with my initial investor for Battle Rope ST, where I was still in the prototype stage, and the same time I'm dealing with that. I got a text message from my brother-in-law, or I think he called me between the text messages, letting me know that my daughter, he just found out that she's using again heroin, and she's relapsed, and that was probably one of the most, wow, the weight of all that was incredible, of dealing with this whole thing falling apart with Battle Rope ST. I'm thinking, this is going really bad, with this investor, and there was a lot of details to it that I don't want to really even go into, but it was a really heavy day, and I remember just sitting in my car thinking, I just felt like these two giant weights on me, just the fact that my here I am, Battle Rope ST I've been working so hard on, I felt like it was kind of all falling apart, and at the same time I found out that my daughter relapsed from heroin addiction again, and this was an ongoing thing. This was the whole heroin addiction had been happening for years, starting with opiates from high school. She was good. She was relapsed, and that was probably one of the most difficult times. And then also when my shortly somewhere around that time, my wife had gotten really sick too, and wound up in the hospital, and having to go to the hospital and see her, and then have to go drive and do a class, and personal training, and even after that happened, with that day when the Battle Rope ST and my investor was falling apart, and I got a call from my brother-in-law saying, even months later, she had went into a rehab and came out, and I can remember driving to a personal training session, and she called me and said, I'm going back in. I got this, this rehab is coming to pick me up. They provide the transportation, and just having to deal with that was because it's, and whatever, I know there's a lot of people out there that are dealing with it. So, but yeah, having to be a personal trainer, because you got to be this inspirational, motivational guy.
Yeah.
And then, you can't have a bad day. Not to say that it makes it any harder for me than anyone else that's dealing with someone that might be struggling with a family member or a friend, because
or struggling with whatever,
or or whatever. But just having to deal with that, I think having that foundation, I had been at that point, I had years of just that conditioning under my belt of persistence, and just. I don't want to. I sound like I'm tooting my horn. I'm not. I don't know. For me, it was just at that point. It was just you just got to keep going.
And I don't think it's a question of tooting your horn. It's a question of people get thrown off track for all sorts of reasons. Some of them seemingly good reasons to those individuals. I stubbed my toe. Even I broke my arm. It's so okay. Broke your arm. a lot of athletes would still show up to the gym with the broken arm and work the other arm, work your legs,
because
work
of the
your
mind,
eyes,
the
right?
mind,
Because of the mind
and the character,
and the character and the vision. I'm just not going to stop.
That's right.
I'm on a mission. I'm going to make this happen no matter what. And I know, one of the first things when I met you, you're on a mission. Your mission is to create fitness equipment that is going to impact people's lives in an absolutely amazing way, and that's what you're doing. Awesome. No matter what, right? But it's true. But that's what you're doing, and you stick to your guns, you stick to your mission, and you stay on track. And I'm sure there's been days where you probably had a bad day here and there. You're human.
Always.
Yeah.
I still do.
Right? Yeah. Of course. But to all the people out there that feel like they can't follow their dream because they have to take care of a sick parent, or they have to take care of a sick child, or whatever it might be. If you truly believe enough in yourself and you truly believe in your dream, you will find a way to make it happen. It takes perseverance. And this is a person that people could look to. Jose is a person that people could look to and say, hey, you know what? I might be having a really crappy day today, but I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to make shit happen. And I think you create your life. You create your life, and you just don't let it happen. That's an inspiration to everybody.
Yeah, there's no such thing as luck. You create your luck by being in action. Well, one of my favorite quotes is like, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you got all these amazing quotes. You've read all these books.
I didn't make them up.
But you could remember the names of the people. So let's send our audience off with one last quote, one last inspiration. I'll give you a couple seconds as I'm talking to think about it. One last quote that they could hang on to and say, shit, if I'm having a bad freaking day, no matter what my goal is, to get in better shape, to build a business, to reinvent myself, whatever it is, this is the quote that they're going to remember. That's going to carry them through.
Wow, it's really put me on the spot there. I'm going to just tell you what's coming to mind is that quote, action is the bridge between the inner world and the outer world.
I love it.
Yeah.
So action is the bridge between the inner world and the outer world.
Yeah.
No matter what the hell is standing in your way, people, take action.
Something.
And that's it. It's Bryan and Jose signing off. Take it to the max.